Hello everyone and welcome to Falmouth, Massachusetts. We're on the Cape Cod Fairgrounds here for the really rad festival of cyclocross. I'm recording this after the weekend of racing, so we now have the benefit of hindsight for this course preview. Going under the finish line here, we're going to bend right into the hole shot. And we had a lot of heavy rain and winds both Friday and Saturday nights, but with the sandy soil here on Cape Cod, that allowed for the course to really drain quickly. You'll see there's a couple puddles here, but there's some ruts that are formed. You'll see on that bender left there, but for the most part, there's not a lot of slick corners. That sandy soil really allowed for the course to drain well. It's a pretty fast course. I'm going out on file treads, challenge dunes, 26-27 PSI. There are a couple things you need to look out for. A couple rocks and roots that could damage the equipment, so just kind of be a little bit more cognizant of that. We're bending that 180 to the left, and this is kind of this false flat that goes up to the barriers here. You'll see that there are a lot of tight turns on this course. There wasn't a lot of opportunity to really open it up for an extended period of time. The name of the game was about piecing together a lot of sections together. You see a young junior here bunny hopping the barriers. Really tall barriers here, 40 centimeters tall. It felt like a tall 40 centimeter, but very impressive that we saw this young junior learning how to bunny hop. If you're a young junior, I suggest learning early and learning how to bunny hop, because the longer you wait in your career, the harder it's going to be. You'll see some tight turns here. We're going to be approaching the sand. There are a couple bottlenecks to kind of kill the speed, some speed checkpoints here to really kind of break up the race. We're trying to form in this rut, and the riding line in the sand is all the way to the right near the barricades. Short sand section, but you're able to either carry your momentum really well, or if you don't ride it well, it kills your momentum and you're going to have to use that energy to get back up to speed. So we're bending left onto the pavement here. Try to carry your momentum well. And a lot of this course is about piecing together these sections, as I said before, and really trying to maximize your exit speed and try to lay off the brakes, because there's going to be so many sharp accelerations here. Right behind the stadium stairs here, we're going to bend to the left. This is a new part of the course. Every year, the course organizers try to add a new feature. This is a relatively new UCI race on the scene, certainly in the New England scene, but they do a really nice job with the production, adding new features. We're going up into the woods. It's really not that challenging of a course or of a section here, but dropping down 180 to the left, quick dismount, run up these stairs, and we're going to remount at the top, and we're going to approach a off camber where there's really only one line. Again, there's a lot of tight turns here, so if you're in a group, it's going to be single file for the most of this, and it's important to just, we have a rider down there, so if you're in traffic or someone crashes in front of you, you're going to have to drop below the line and try to maintain traction. A couple of ruts starting to form in the sand there. And again, as I said, with there being some rain over both Friday and Saturday night, in the mornings the course was a little slick, but it really dried out really well over the course of the day. This is one of the faster parts of the course. You'll see there's a lot of sweeping turns here. There's not a lot of right angle racing here where there's a lot of sharp decelerations and re-accelerations. You're able to carry your speed and momentum really well here. So kind of hugging the outside here, all the way to the outside, bend the tape. But again, as I said, the name of the game is really these sharper re-accelerations. So 5 or 6 pedal strokes to get back up to speed, and that's all you really have time to work with. So a couple tight turns in and out of the trees. Over the course of the weekend, that got a little bit washed out. There were some ruts that started to form here, but if you're not careful and driving the bike well, the front wheel could wash out. So looking back over the weekend in our races in the Elite Men, there weren't a lot of these really big definitive features on the course. It was all about stringing together these turns, really trying to force a mistake with the rider behind you. That's what happened. Eric Bruner won both days. I was second both days. He was riding on a very good level, but he's very good at driving the bike in these really short, punchy sections. So that's where he was able to have the advantage and really string together a lot of these tight turns and really accelerate well. Put in those 5 or 6 really sharp pedal strokes after the turn and kind of get up to speed really quickly. Here you'll see we're coming into one of the heavier pedaling sections on the course aside from the start-finish straight. We're coming by pit 1 here. It seemed like the pits were a little lopsided. The distance between pit 2 and pit 1 was pretty big, while the distance between pit 1 and pit 2 was a little bit shorter. But we're bending to the right here. A little bit loose, sandy turn. We're coming up on a really interesting bowl type feature where there's a couple different options for lines here. In the race, with approaching this with a little bit higher speed, we're going to be going a little bit wider than I am right now. You'll see I'm on that really padded down line, but to really arc the corner a little bit more, at race speed, we went a little bit wider, so we cut a little bit more. Getting back up to speed here, and this is that heavier pedaling section of the course that I was talking about earlier. It's a bit more than a false flat, gradual uphill. We're going to bend to the right here slightly, but this is where if you have someone on the ropes behind you where you can really turn the screws and try and get an advantage. And through these next couple turns that we go around this barn, the turns are really wide open and you could be a little bit more selective of your lines. If you want to really pedal through the turn or carry your speed well, you can bang a little bit more to the outside. Example here, I pass a rider. Granted, this is pre-ride, a little bit slower, but you really have traction all the way around the outside of this turn. You'll see I'm going a little bit more outside. You have a couple puddles on the inside, but if you're at a lower speed, you can really hug the inside of that barn. If you hug the inside of the turn, especially with the rain that we got overnight, it was a little bit more slick because it was in the shade, but you had a little bit more traction the more outside you went. Further outside, more traction, more pedaling, more speed. We're coming into some tight turns on this section of the course. Again, a lot of tight turns on this course, but heads up here, we're approaching a couple very easy bunny hops, 3 small stairs. You want to get that just right with the wheel placement. Biggest thing here is gear selection coming out of this section. So you're coming in with a lot of speed, but coming back up the hill, that kind of kills the speed. So you want to click down the 3 gears or so. Make sure you're on a good gear coming out of that section. Coming into the woods, we're about 90 seconds from the finish line here. Going through these tight turns. I think if you're coming into the finish line for a sprint, it's more advantageous to really lead these sections. Yeah, you're 500 meters from the finish line, but there's a lot of coasting through these sections and you're really able to hold your advantage. There's not a lot of opportunity to pass if you're leading this section. So we're going to be coming by pit 2 here. Get back up to speed. If you're in a group or you're fighting for the sprint, this is really the last opportunity to pass before getting onto the pavement section. Couple turns left in the lap here. So as we bend to the right, there's a really big bending turn here, and earlier in the day, again, we saw a turn like this was a little bit more slick. You'll see on the outside there's still a standing puddle, but again, as the day went on, the sun came out, dried everything out, it became a much more grippy turn. So bending to the left around the barn, bending to the left, we got one more turn. It's a sharper 180. There's really, this part of the course had the only slick corners on the entire lap. So just try to maintain the traction. If you're coming into a sprint, don't put your foot down. Back on at the start, finish straight, and that's really the course. Really appreciate you watching and following along. If you're able to come out next year, please do. These New England races are an absolute blast. They do a really good job producing a clean event, and I hope to see you there next year.